right, and welcome to class activity number 2. So today we are going to do the basic configuration of our Server 22 server. So let's boot up the server. So make sure it's highlighted, click on Start. Make sure that your lab document is also open, because when I ask you to take screenshots, there's only really one screenshot at the end. Then you're going to put it at the bottom of that lab. So make sure that it's open, okay? All right, so let's wait for this system to boot up. Okay, so let's log in. Let's go to Input, Keyboard, Control Alt Delete. Remember the password, I love server 2022. Remember, capital I and capital S. All right, let the server manager come up. And you know what? We want to get rid of this. Let's uncheck this because I don't want this to always come up. We're going to have a lab that will allow us to use the Windows Admin Center. So for now, we don't want it to keep coming up every time we boot up the server. So check this box that says don't show this message again and close it. All right, this is the server manager. It always loaded immediately at the startup. So what we're going to do first is let's pin it to the taskbar and then disable it from being loaded every time it comes up. Anytime we need it, we'll be able to get it from the taskbar. Since it's loaded already, right-click on it on the taskbar and pin to taskbar. Now that it's pinned, it will always be there, but we don't want it to be launched every time we boot up the server. So to disable the launching, the automatic launching, we go to Manager, click on Server Manager Properties, and check this box that says do not start the server manager automatically at logon. Check that box and say okay. All right, good. Now let's click on configure this local server. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to change the name of the server. So click on that right here and then click on change. And what are we going to name it? I want you to put the first 2 letters of your first name and last name, your initials. So in case MA is for me, and then write dash. Did I write dash? No dash. MA, and then you're right. WS for Windows Server, all capital. This is the naming convention, usually without the initials. Windows Server 2K22. So Windows Server 2022 dash domain controller DC, and that's it. We could put 01 for the first one. So your first initial, in my case, it's MA, WS 2K22-DC. Click OK. All right, it's going to ask us to restart the computer so it can make the changes. Click OK and let it reboot. And click close and restart now. So let it restart. All right, so let's log in. Go to Input, Keyboard, Control Alt Delete. I love Server 2022. All right, you see that the server manager does not come up, but it is pinned to the taskbar. So whenever we need it, we click on it. So click on it now so we can open it up. And let's go back to configure this local server. Click on that. and you should see it up here. If it doesn't come up, the name, just click on refresh. This is whenever I say refresh, these are the two arrows. Just click on it, it will refresh the thing. Every 10 seconds or so, it does it automatically. All right, the work group, leave it alone. We're not going to touch it. When we join the domain, it will be different. The work group is if you're using it locally. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to turn off the firewall. Now remember, we're only doing this because we are in a testing environment. If you are in production, in real life, you want to leave it on. So, and the reason we turn it off for testing, because we want to be able to ping and we want to be free to do whatever we want, you know, to test other computers and so on. And the Windows Defender blocks us from pinging or replying to pings from other devices. Anyway, so let's turn them off. Click on Windows Defender, and we need to turn off all three networks, the domain, the private, and the public. So click on the domain first and change the on to off. Go back with this arrow and go on to the private network. Turn that off. Go back and go to the public. Turn that off and then go back. And then you can close that and refresh to make sure everything's off. And it should be off. Good. For remote management, we want it to be enabled. For remote desktop, so we can remotely access the server from a computer, we want to enable that. So click on the disable right here and choose the radio button. Click on that that says allow remote connections to this computer. Click OK. And then you can click apply, then click OK. And then refresh to make sure it's been enabled. There you go. NIC teaming, we'll have a lab for that where you can have multiple NICs to give you better performance and for redundancy purposes, but we'll leave that disabled for now. Now we need to assign an IP address to our adapter. So click on that and double click on your NIC. And we are going to go to properties. And we're going to double click on the Internet Protocol version 4. Now, when this button that says obtain this IP address automatically, that means this computer will automatically search for a DHCP server to get an IP address. But we want to give it a static IP because it's going to be the server. And so click on use the following IP. When you do that, you see the text box is opened up. All right, and we're going to give the IP address 192.168.10.100. Hit the tab key. You get /24, which is 255s and a 0. That's your subnet mask. The default gateway, although we don't have a router, but let's just pretend that we do have one. Let's make it 192.168.10.1. All right, the preferred DNS server is going to be this server, the one that you are using, because that's going to be, if you type any name, it's going to come here to look for that name to give you a destination IP address. So it is going to be 192.168.10.100. Alternate DNS, you can go outside and let's use the Google public DNS server as an alternate, which is the 8.8.8.8. Okay, so click on OK. And says default is yeah, you can say yes. And then click on OK. And then click on close. You can click close here too and hit refresh. And there you go, 192.168.10.1. All right, going back to here. Updates, we don't want to update. And again, this is for testing purposes. don't bother with getting any updates, because if you do, every time we boot up, it's going to start downloading the update and do the installation, and you won't be able to do anything till all the updates are complete. In real life, in production, you definitely want to turn them on, of course. That is a priority. You need the updates need to be enabled and installed automatically. But for us, because we are in a testing environment, we'll leave that alone. Now, for the antivirus, leave it on. That's definitely, even in testing environment, we want to leave the antivirus protection on, because, you know, if we uploaded anything, images or anything like that to the virtual machines, we want to be protected. Feedback settings, we can leave that alone. Enhanced security configuration, leave that alone. The last thing that I want to do, make changes to, is the time zone, because we are on the East Coast. So let's change that to the Eastern version right here. This is Eastern time, US and Canada. Click on that, click OK, and click OK. All right, so hit refresh. And there's your screenshot. Take your screenshot, put it at the bottom of the lab, and we are done with lab number 2. You can close this. And again, shut down the server by going to the start menu, power, shut down, leave it on the unplanned, and I will see you in class activity number 3.